on the ConnorsReport.com, coming to you from Los Angeles, California, Burbank Studios, actually. You guys ever been down to Burbank Studios? It's like real preppy. Kind of a real preppy area. And but anyway, we have, it is right now, I believe, like about 74 degrees here on the West Coast. Welcome to the Connors Report. It is now February 18th, 2016, and the time is on the West Coast, 8:46. We have Gina on the phone, and we are looking at her video also here. Let me get back to that real quick. There we go. That's her video there, and we have her on the line right now. She is going to be Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, going to be out front of the jail, the prison, I guess, out there, for a San Pedro protest for the Hammonds. Now, I understand, Gina, that you have spoken with the Hammonds and stuff like that. Can you fill us in, please?
Well, there's some of the family does live here locally in Southern California, so they'll be there joining us. And the story is just so heartbreaking. You know, one of the family members was sharing with me today about their last Thanksgiving that they had together, and just how their hearts were aching. And I talked with the woman who actually drove Dwight and Stephen to prison when they turned themselves in January 4th, and it's just heartbreaking that she talks about how hard they've been working to keep that day from coming, yet the government prevailed, and their loved ones are now sitting in prison, and they're not terrorists. We know they're not terrorists. They're hardworking ranchers, and it's just criminal that these terrorist laws are being used against American people. In fact, there was another case with some ranchers named Haig, and a federal judge said that the BLM was engaged in decades-long criminal conspiracy against ranchers, and actually referred the matter to the Attorney General. So, we know the Hammonds aren't the only ones that have been persecuted. It's been going on for decades. It continues to go on. I know I was just so outraged when I heard about, they make these excuses for why they need to take people's property. And, they were talking about trying to save turtles out in Nevada. But once they actually got the land, then the government said, well, we can't afford to feed the turtles, so they euthanized all of them. Right. And the stories that are coming to light now are just outrageous. And, I'm glad that the truth is finally coming out. And, Californians can't afford to sit back and think that this is something that's happening far away from us. Mm-hmm. President Obama was just here in California this week claiming 1.8 million acres around Joshua Tree as federal land, and we know that this is absolutely unconstitutional. California, we can manage our own land. We don't need the federal government coming in here and taking our land. And if that wasn't enough, now they were talking in the news yesterday, I believe, about trying to get more land to claim for the national parks around the Los Angeles River and the San Gabriel Mountains. Mm-hmm. And so, the federal government has a voracious appetite, and it doesn't seem to have any limits.
Can I ask you, Gina?
They need to understand that the Constitution does limit them.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'd like to ask you some questions also as you go along. We're doing just fine. I love people that I don't have to drag information out of them. So, but do you know why they're doing all of that? Do you know why he did that? Do you know why President Obama came in there and announced that? Do you know why they're closing down? Do you know why they're taking control of all of this land? Just out of curiosity, do you?
I don't know specifically. I would just say it's because they just want to. They think that the government can control things better than the people can. That they have a different, worldview than our founding fathers had, and we see Bernie Sanders and the socialist camp and progressives. They have a different outlook on life. They believe that government knows better how to run your life than you do, and they really just don't agree with the principles of our Constitution. They refuse to submit to the law of the Constitution, and so they're basically just lawbreakers. And for too long, our state legislators and Congress let them get away with it, and they're going to get away with as much as they can until the people stand up and say no more.
Mm-hmm. Would you call yourself awakened, or have you been awake for a long time, or you?
I've been awake. About 5 years ago, I started to wake up. I began homeschooling my children 5 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and I went on this awesome website called PhilomathFoundation.com, which is run by a woman named Catherine Dang, who's been educating people for over 30 years on the history of our Constitution and the principles that our nation was founded on, and began to study the principle of self-government and learn about the character of the men that founded this nation, about faith, steadfastness, diligence, industry, brotherly love, self-government, biblical reasoning, and so I started kind of waking up then and really educating myself. But I'll tell you what, when LaVoy Finicum was assassinated by our government, it was a defining moment in my life.
Really?
And yeah, absolutely.
Well, why is that?
Well, one reason is because I used to look to the news for a lot of information,
mm-hmm.
and of course, it was a deafening silence. All the time, what was happening in Oregon, the news you would see. Pete Santilli was the only one out there live streaming everything. What the protesters were doing was not secret. Everything from the moment they first went to Malheur was being live streamed. You could see everything that was happening. Yet the media would get on television when, on the few times that they did speak about, and they would lie, and they would say something, but they would say, well, we don't really know what's happening. It's like, well, if you just would look at the Pete Santilli show, you could see for yourself what's happening. And I would see them saying things that I knew to be false because I had seen something different with my own eyes. And when you watch the press conferences every day, and thank goodness for LaVoy Finicum and Ammon Bundy, they are such educated, well-spoken, soft-spoken men. And really, I mean, if you go and look at LaVoy's videos, you can learn so much. But you see all the media out there. They were all out there at the press conferences, but when you would turn on your evening news, there was nothing to be said.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, Gina, something. Go ahead.
So I just realized what a scam it is. Everyone, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, they were all just deceiving the people, and so I refused to watch it anymore. And I was really inspired also by Pete Santilli put out a call for independent media. Now, I graduated from USC Cinema School, and Santilli was saying, we need independent media out here to get the truth out, because the truth was not getting out, and he wanted to have that buffer. He was calling for people to be a buffer to come, because he was against, it's such a shame that he's in prison now, because he was against actually the takeover of Malheur. He didn't think that was the right tactic, and from the get-go, he said that he was against it, but he loved those people, and he was going to do everything he could to protect their life. So he put out a call for independent media, and I was really stirred by that, and have actually begun. Well, I was stirred by that, and so I started my blog, Liberty Grows, and my YouTube channel, kind of as a response to that. It's dedicated to the memory of LaVoy Finicum, and I wanted just so badly to get out there and to stand with him and a few other independent media that were there, and I began actually buying equipment. My husband actually recently got a DSLR, and so our house is becoming a mini studio because I began getting equipment and wanting to get out there and be part of that independent
mm-hmm.
media.
How come everybody comes over here for that?
I think other people have had similar reactions, especially after seeing LaVoy killed the way he was.
Uh-huh. I think it may have awakened a lot of Americans watching that video, and I know that the FBI put it out in defense of themselves, but to be honest with you, I don't believe that it was very good for them, to be honest with you. But well, I'm glad that you and your husband are doing that. That's, we all need to share the news. And so why the Connors report?
With everything that was happening in Oregon, began to get connected with different people as we were trying to keep up, and basically there was such little being reported on it. There you have the Bundy Ranch page you could go to, and Pete Santilli's show, and slowly began to see other. I've been following Gavin Syme for a long time, watching his videos, and he began to speak about it. And and so slowly you began to see people you could go to just to get information, and I began to just follow and subscribe anyone that was putting out information. And the Connors Report was one of those people, and of course I was encouraged by the fact that you guys were here locally.
Yeah, it does help a little bit to be closer by, that's for sure. Okay, so what we're going to do, basically, Gina, you have this thing going on in Los Angeles, California. It's on Saturday at 2 p.m., and it is basically called a, what is it called exactly?
It's a peaceful protest for Dwight and Stephen Hammond. We'll be meeting at 2 p.m. Saturday at the fishing village, the Japanese Fishing Village Memorial, which is just next to the Terminal Island Prison. The address is 1124 South Seaside Avenue in San Pedro, California. So just over the Vincent Thomas Bridge.
Okay, real quick, Gina, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish, real quick?
One, to bring awareness of the Hammonds' plight to people in California, and also we want to see them free. We want to see Dwight and Stephen Hammond released from prison. The judge said that this was cruel and unusual punishment, and we want the Attorney General Loretta Lynch to prosecute every federal official who has been a part of this conspiracy to rob the Hammond family of their right to the pursuit of happiness. It's just as they did,
not right. Just as they did as the people that we're seeing in your video, correct?
Right, just like they did to the Japanese when their land was taken and they were put into the internment camps at World War II. In history, things repeat itself, and we need to be better students of history. We need to, the Constitution is not a long document. You can sit down and read it. You see people carrying it in their pocket, and it's a simple document to understand. In a nutshell, it just says you have Article 1 talking about the legislative power, Article 2 talking about the power of the president, and Article 3 talking about the power of the Supreme Court, in that order, according to who has the most power. The people have the most power. The House of Representatives before the Senate, and then the president and the executive, and then the judicial. And basically, the states formed our Constitution because they wanted to secure themselves from external forces. It was put together to keep us, safe from those who would attack us from the outside. So it was, documents to protect us in times of, from war, and all the other rights were reserved to the people and to the states. So it's not too hard to understand. Basically, anything that the states can manage themselves, they do, and what they can't, then the federal government takes care of as far as war, peace, foreign commerce, foreign affairs, basically the stuff that, you see the State Department and Secretary of State dealing with. But they have,
Hey, Gina?
usurped their power.
Gina, don't mean to cut you off here. I've got about a minute and 30 seconds to get this done. Okay, guys, Los Angeles, California, Saturday the 2nd, we are going to be broadcasting this live here on the Connors Report, and it is a peaceful protest for the Hammonds. And you can check her out at Web Liberty Grows. Web Liberty Grows on YouTube, or say it real quick for us, Gina.
LibertyGrows.wordpress.com.
All right, fantastic. Okay, guys, this is Mark Connors on American Media News, coming to you live from Burbank Studios in Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us on the show tonight. Today is, again, I keep forgetting the day today. I'm stuck in the studio going insane, you guys. It is February 18th, 2016. This is Mark Connors. Thank you for joining us. See us on don't forget to check out our blog, our stuff tonight on YouTube. This will be up in about 10 minutes, guys. Take care.